Hey everybody, welcome back to this episode of Monster Sweethearts. We have finished the routes, but we are doing the lore this time. So we went through some of the lore in the last episode. I also wanted to give my thoughts on Blake's route because I did not have time to give my thoughts on Blake's route in the last one. I've said this multiple times, but Premiere breaks if I do an episode that's longer than an hour. Like, if you hear me talk about, like, my yearning for the boy videos, those were torturous to make because they broke so much upon export. So yes. So, but anyways, it gives me an excuse to come back to the game and talk more about Monster Sweethearts and learn more about the lore. So I'm very excited. We're going to get into learning more about Victoria's origins. She is the best girl. She's the only girl. I love her. You know, it'd be okay if she killed me, though. I love Blank, too, though, is the problem. It's a problem. Victoria, I love her so. Most of Victoria's route was winged as I was riding it much, which actually semi-worked out. Oh, by the way, I'm so sorry. This lore comes if you complete Blake's route successfully. So then you get access to basically all this lore and all this information on like what went into the making of the game, the inspirations behind it, and how the characters have changed over time, as well as kind of into the developer's thoughts on the game design itself. So something that was really interesting, and I hate to distract from this, but something that was really interesting about the last episode was the developer brought up how, like, otome games, this is supposed to be, like, an otome game, but the developer was saying that she, like, hated otome games because they kind of tended to have, like, this character that was just happy-go-lucky, went forward with everything, which is not only unrealistic, but, like, it's just not, like, that good of a story, and that, personally, is also one of my problems with otome games and why I don't tend to play them that much on this channel. You know, I like them okay. I do want my player character to have a distinct personality. I'm sure that people are going to come in and argue in my comment section about, like, how When the Night Comes is, like, an otome game and you know, like, yearning a gay story is an otome game, and I'm like, yeah, but those were better written. Like, have you ever just... Y'all, there are some super bad otome games out there where it's just like, what? Like, to this day, the only game that I think that I've recorded an episode of, almost like a 15-minute episode of, and stopped was an otome game. I can't even remember the name of it, but, like, it was bad. It was bad. They, like, made a rape joke, and I was just like, yep, this is why I don't play these games. Most of Victoria's route was winged as I was writing it, which actually semi-worked out. I did not write any outlines, which I do regret since it causes a lot of writing that I would later cut and wasted my time. The game is about 800 pages. You need an outline that addresses what themes you want to address so that you keep that in mind when writing, because I was wasting a lot of time writing ideas that wouldn't pan out. Then I got the idea that Victoria's a Frankenstein, that if her dad brought back more people from the dead, and that was the conflict. Since originally there was going to be a love rival to Victoria. She would show how much of a better friend she would be to Jaylene, and Jaylene, close to the end, was going to choose her over Vic. But when Jaylene went to the cemetery to get some parts for Victoria, she sees the love rival, they're trying to have sex with a dead body. Jaylene was like, and the other girl was like, it's not what it looks like, but it's exactly what it looks like. But that's not enough conflict to drive the whole story forward as something scary, since I wanted a horror visual novel too. So removing the love rival and putting in creatures that want to kill them makes for a more heavy-hitting drama for me, at the least. Going on, she was made to fulfill that childhood friend trope in romance visual novels, but I wanted to do something different with her and make Jaylene hate her guts. Since not all friends stay your friends throughout your entire life, nor do their personalities stay the same either. And every romance otome I played had the great friend that's there for you, and I'm just like, what if they bullied them in the past? Wouldn't that be messed up or what? It would also create more conflict. You need that drama in a story to have readers enjoy it. While Lyle may be my favorite character, Victoria and Jaylene's relationship is my second favorite. Yes, oh my god. I really love, like, I think Blake is second, but, like, I still circle back to Victoria every time. I know she's crazy. I know she'd kill me if I piss her off, but, you know, I do love her. I love shits where one hates the other, but the other adores them, or where they both hate each other and learn to love each other later on. That's why Jaylene is tsundere, so in every route she's like that. It's more in some routes than others. And it's even better in Victoria's route, because Jaylene still very much loves Victoria. She's just really hurt and damaged by what she did. It hurts her pride to love someone who treated her like shit years ago, so it's good to see her refuse to love Victoria, but can't, because Victoria's just too good to her. I also love Victoria because it was a lot of fun drawing her stitches and scars. Most monster girls in media don't look like monsters sometimes, but Victoria's body is gross. But I love her body. She's got, like, this square, like, stocky fit. I think she's cute. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. Her caved-in face is really gross, but if you love her like I do, you look past that. That's why I made an effort for Bae and Leanne to have true monster forms. I was gonna have a dog form with like a snout and everything, but I'm not a furry, so I'm not into that omission. And yes, you can like Bae's fish form without being a furry or scaly or whatever. She's too human. She is. Why is JJ to the jet plane in the background? Why is this happening? I'm scared. Before she would have this is dredging up memories. Before she would have a quirk of calling Jaylene JJ, I changed this since it reminded me too much of JJ the jet plane and that bothered me. Anyway, in her good end, her and Jaylene owned a flower shop together and were married. She was also going to be the only canon bisexual out of the main girls. Taylor is, but is never stated anywhere. But I felt like she is more Jaylene sexual than anything. That's so true. Everyone else is a lesbian. Jaylene is a big fucking lesbian, but won't admit it. Because Victoria made her afraid to love again. Too bad I put her in a game full of girls who like girls, so she can't ever escape. She'll always end up with a cute girl. What a nightmare, right? To be clear, every girl besides Taylor, Sierra, Jolie, and Lexi are full-on lesbians. The only straight girls are Lexi and Jolie. And of course, Nana's a lesbian. Wait, what? What? Another thing to note is that instead of Victoria leaving, she actually dies in that car crash. So when Victoria and Jaylene meet in the common route, Jaylene is like, I thought you died? And Victoria was like, no, it was really awkward. This was changed since it's hard for Jaylene to be mad at Victoria if she died. Like, she's being an asshole to someone who straight up died, you know? One idea I had thrown around is her being a semi-stalker throughout the route, but I wanted a game with healthy relationships, so that was tossed. Yeah, and there's so much of that. That's enough about Victoria. Let's move on to one of the hardest routes to write. Xanthe. Xanthe was hard. I would think that Leanne was hard. Xanthe went through a lot of changes in her story. Originally, she was out to kill you, straight up kill you, though she did this since she thought in her own twisted way that's how you show love. Throughout the route, you could die 4 times in Xanthe if Xanthe liked you too much. And like the B-plot was art that could kill you, like Velvet Buzzsaw. Oh my god, that movie wasn't even that good. I don't know why I was trying to replicate it. Velvet Buzzsaw was really bad. Don't watch it. It's not worth it. It's not. You know, I watched it because the effects looked cool, and then I was like, I don't understand this plot. I don't understand. It's like rich people like art. And I'm like, well, the rich people like art in real life, and that's enough of a horror story as it is. I don't know what you're trying to say, Velvet Buzzsaw. And in that good end, they would have an apartment in New York where Xanthe did art for a living along with cats. Can't get more lesbian than that. Xanthe's went through many changes in her stories, and she was way more unlikable in earlier drafts. I made her more sympathetic so the reader would actually want to date her and not hate her guts. But I also wanted a horror aspect, but that was hard, because whatever Rose did to Jaylene, that in turn will affect the reader's view on Xanthe for putting her in that mess. It was a hard line to balance, and honestly, I don't know if it did 100% well, but it's better than not trying. Oh no, I didn't really have that kind of, that's a good thing to bring up, but like I didn't really have that kind of emotion because it seemed like Rose was showing up, and to me Jaylene was super concerned and just wanted to figure out how to fix it and stop it. And so it felt like it was more Jaylene's fault that she got involved in that whole mess with Rose and Xanthe than it was, like, Xanthe's fault. Because it's really not Xanthe's fault. Like, Jaylene is just like, I'm just going to keep showing up. And Xanthe's like, no, like, actually don't, though. And Jaylene's like, okay. Like, that's what I remember, at least. I mean, maybe it's already been too long since I played Xanthe's route. Better replay it for the channel. Kidding. Not really. Yes, I am. Shut up. Okay. Keep reading. Later on, you can see some of the drafts I deleted if you so wish. They're very long, so keep that in mind. Oh my god, I'd read it. I'd read that shit for, like, the fan fiction aspect. The restaurant scene didn't come till way later, so corruption didn't exist, but the thing with Xanthe's head being messed up still did. It would be called tattooing, where a person is brainwashed Rose and then would force Jamie to tattoo Xanthe to force her to listen to commands. The twins and Rose also went through some changes in design as well. These are some old sprites for them. I changed the twins' hair because almost all the gingers in the game are evil, and I didn't want people thinking I hated gingers. Like Skylar, Alexis, the twins before the redesign, Leanne are all assholes to varying degrees. And Jolie was made to offset the asshole gingers in the game. Also wanted Rose to be a tad bit more attractive so the player liked her a little bit more. Writing was for fun because it allowed me to have such a terrible person be the antagonist. Since for Cecil I wanted to redeem her, so she couldn't be that bad, but I wasn't going to do the same for Rose, so I made her pretty effed up, which is so fun to write. Xanthe has to be one of my favorites just because of how different her route is compared to the others in my opinion. But enough about vampires, let's go on to the impure of the group. Leanne went through many designs and alterations throughout the development. At the start, she was a demon that grew horns. This was later changed to some sort of alien race. The line in the comment route, English is not my first language, was in reference to her alien language. When she was still an alien, she had a friend named Alexis that was taken away. Later on in the route, you found that she was turned into a virus that corrupts people. In the bad end, Leanne still kills you, but her alien race is running rampant in the Blackwood, killing people along with Jaylene being eaten alive. Throughout her route, you would teach her to human correctly and understand Earth culture. One thing I remember thinking of was Leanne not knowing how to eat properly. Her and Jaylene were in the cafeteria before Jaylene knew she was an alien, and Leanne was trying to eat in front of her to show she's human. She put the tater tot in her soda, then dunked her corn dog in the soda, then eats it along, drinking the soggy tater tots. While a fun idea, I wanted to try other things in her route. I wanted Leanne to be the bad boy of the game. If you read Leanne's route before you got the update, you would know she would have gotten violent with Jaylene, but since she was a romance option, I didn't want her to put her hands on Jaylene. I did not read that. I did not read that before the update, so that's interesting. I made her into an asshole instead because I didn't want to fall into one of those bad boy tropes. I wanted her to still be that annoying, obnoxious person even after you make her kinder, since that feels more realistic. Also because, like, it would be so weird if you were, like, playing a route and then, like, someone, like, literally, like, beats your ass and then you're still in love with them. And, you know, that would be, you'd be like, oh, this is some dark shit. Okay. People don't do a 180 in personality, so while she treats people with more respect, she will still read adult stories to kids just because it's funny. Her route was also there to explain the reason for the school's existence and why Jaylene has a bad heart. During when I first posted Monster Sweethearts back in late 2019, I was planning on cutting her out, but then I lose my outlet to explain everything, so I kept her, but that doesn't mean I don't like her. I do. It's just pain to write 6 stories, and I was tired of writing by then. Yeah. When it comes to, it would have been nice if, like, some of the story-based plot was sprinkled. I think some of it was. I just felt like it could have been sprinkled in more, because I feel like Leanne's route was all of a sudden, like, overarching plot heavy. And that's kind of, like, I don't know, that weirded me out when comparing the other routes. Onwards to the side characters. Let's start off with everyone's favorite, Blake. Blake was never supposed to have a route. God damn it. Why? Why would you do this? She was meant to have a crush on Jaylene no matter the route she's in, and active support for Jaylene. One fun fact is that while drawing her, I had a problem with drawing her hair correctly. It looked oily like she didn't shower, so in the game I was going to put that she doesn't shower, but this was later changed since I drew her hair in a way where she looks fine. She was also intended to have glasses, but I looked weird. Oh my god, she looks so different. She looks so nerdy. It's interesting that we don't have, like, a romantic route that does have glasses. I was not expecting people to like her as much as people do, or that people would actually request her route. Her route went through many changes since it wasn't planned. Later I'll show you some of the things I talk about. In her route, she would get flashbacks of her being a kid with her friends Brody and Kelly. Blake would have a huge crush on Jaylene, but Jaylene wouldn't remember her. She also thought Blake was a boy when they first met. Blake would be 14, Jaylene 18. But it felt like it didn't really add anything besides a cute little baby Blake, so I made it where he was switched to Jaylene's point of view. I love Blake and I'm really happy that people wanted her to have a route, though I wish I thought of that first, since I would have just had Lyle, Blake, Vic, and Xanthe's route with Blake being the 5th one. That would have been cool. You can also karma date when I drew this Blake by the old lesbian lipstick flag that was later replaced by this Umset flag. Going on, oh, that's right, you can't use that flag anymore because it's transphobic. Yeah, there's a long reason for that. I'm sorry, Google it. There's a long reason for it. Going on, Lexi and Sierra were made as polar opposites, so conflict would happen at the house that would involve the love interests. I wanted to make it how real relationships works. Your life doesn't revolve around them. Here's one of the first concept arts I ever drew for the game. Taylor, Lexi, and the sheriff stay the same while Sierra looks really different, so does Blake. Blake took me a long ass time to draw her hair. This is pretty much it. We'll go into the cut content. Okay, so this is cut content. You can skip reading the comment out just till there's a background, then you can read the other cut content. Oh my god, yeah. She's not kidding. There was a lot of stuff that was cut from Xanthe's route. There was so much stuff cut from Xanthe's route, and I'm just like, wow. Because, like, if this is all the stuff that... We went through some of the stuff that was cut from Bay's route, like, really quickly, but if this is all the stuff that's cut from Xanthe's route, holy god. Wow, I'm so sorry. I feel like I should have some other kind of critique to give. I'm very tired, y'all. It is the end of my night. Oh my god. Oh, this is Blake. And Blake looked like the baby when... Oh, baby Blake. Look at that. So cute. Wait, what? Hello, I'm... Minnesota. What? Well, that's your name? Your parents must have hated you. Oh god, it's true. If your parents have you in Minnesota, your parents hate you. It's a really hard reality that I've gotten used to. Oh, so cute. Look, Blake and Kelly. Oh, so cute. Oh my god, baby Blake is the most adorable baby I've ever learned. Oh my god. Hey, Hey Minnesota. Minnesota? Whatever. Hey Minnesota. Wait. Minnesota, are you gonna... I love that they call her Minnesota. I'm coming, you better pick PlayStation, fanboy. Is this a reference to me? Are you calling me out, developer? It's okay if you're calling me out. My mom works at the orphanage. That's so cute that they call her Minnesota. Minnesota! Oh, it's so funny. When you're so nervous and then you just say, I'm Minnesota. You always be... It's an old friend of mine. You can't do this to a girl. You always be Jelly Kelly. I'll have you know. Minnesota. Huh? Around you I got too nervous, so I went by Minnesota. You're Minnesota? But what? Why didn't you tell me? Because you rejected my love confession. Why would I say I'm that embarrassing kid? Because you were adorable as a kid. You were kind of mean. You threw brooms at us. Yeah, that was kind of hot. Everyone in the room looks at me, which tells me I must have said something weird. Did I say something? Oh my god, that's so funny that they call Blake Minnesota because Blake was from Minnesota and was too shy to say it. That's adorable. Oh no, I made it to the end. I love how ticket is misspelled with a K. I think that's cute. Wow. Okay. So first my thoughts on Blake, and then my thoughts on Monster Sweethearts as a whole. Now that we've got to see the entire game and its completion. Okay. So, Blake's route. Amazing route. If I have to rank all my routes, Victoria is still at the top. I'd honestly put Blake probably second. Xanthe for third. Bae. Lyle's redeemed herself. And then, like, Leanne I'd actually put at the bottom. But I put Leanne kind of, like, in the middle if I wanted to talk about, like, the plot. I just didn't connect to Leanne as much, okay? Like, Leanne was just kind of giving me way too much shit. And I feel like Blake gives you shit, but, like, Blake is also super supportive. So yeah, so like in terms of like which ones that I thought were like kind of the best written, that's sort of my ranking, as well as like which ones I think, I guess it's also kind of the ones that I think are like the most likable, except people really love Xanthe. Some people have said that like Xanthe is their favorite, and I totally understand and I respect that. So Blake's route was just really amazingly done. I think it felt like it could have been so easy because I got the feeling that Blake wasn't going to be, especially after playing Leanne's route, that Blake was not going to be a monster, that Blake was going to be a normal human, and that Jaylene or us, we were actually going to be the monster. So I got the feeling that like Blake was going to be the one normal person that we were going to date. So I was kind of fine with that. And it would have been so easy to just like turn it into like any other kind of like basic romance. But no, we pulled out the stops. We threw in some serial killer bullshit. We got new routes. We got a house to escape. We got Jaylene's like tentacles out hitting people. I mean, there was like a lot of shit, and I was like, whoa, like, because it kind of brought me back to Bae's route. Well, the redone version of Bae's route, y'all. I have not replayed it, but again, play Bae's route, because Bae's route has like a lot of that kind of like that backtracking and that sort of mechanic where it's like you have to figure out a way to escape. Leanne's route, I think, does have that as well. A little bit of Victoria's kind of. Victoria's not so much, but it's really like you just have to remember that one scene when you're running away from the monster in the forest. So yeah, I mean, that was really amazing and really like a really strong ending to the entire game, because I felt like it would have been so easy to just sit there and be like, hey, this is the secret route, you guys better be happy now, you know, and just like totally phone it in. So I really appreciate that we finished on such a strong note, and I really appreciate kind of the moments that we had with Blake and everything like that, and it was so interesting and good. And while Alexis was a very obvious kind of villain, I'm cool with that. I'm glad that like there was kind of this obvious sense of like there being someone being a weirdo. It's also interesting that this is like the one route that I think specifically focuses on people being targeted for their homosexuality. So I appreciate that this game doesn't really like talk about, you know, even though it's set in Kentucky, which I just learned now, you know, it doesn't focus on like how queer people are like persecuted in the South, because as I mentioned before when I was like making grunge and everything, like queer people just live in the South. They're always going to exist in the South. They're not going to like leave the South by any means. And so it was nice and kind of refreshing to see something where it was like, well, this isn't so much, this isn't a game like about how they're going to be persecuted. And then we just kind of limited it to this one route. And I felt like it made more sense in this route because Blake is the human. So it's like, what is Blake really going to be bothered by? You know, what is Blake going to be bothered by? I mean, you could have twisted this and been like, oh, this is a misogynistic man that's like, you know, just creeping on girls, and that would have been fine, but I think that would have been like a little bit of a shallow way to end it. So this honestly like made a lot of sense to me, and I felt like it was a very strong way to end it. And I love the relationship, and I love seeing that it was Blake, and I love a lot of things about this game, y'all. So, about Monster Sweethearts as a whole. Monster Sweethearts is probably one of the best visual novels that I've ever played. And I know that some people are going to be sitting there like, what? Because it's like, I've played things like The Letter, I've played things like Coming Out on Top, I've played other things. I've played so many visual novels over the history of my life, but the brief 24-year history of my life. But, you know, I've played a lot. And the thing is that I think it's so hard and rare and unique to find a game where you connect to all the characters. Like, even though I say that I don't like Leanne's route that much, like, I love all of these people. Like, they feel like people that I would meet in real life, and they feel like people that I would want to know and hang out with, and, I'm not gonna cry. Don't you dare cry. Don't you dare cry, bitch. Okay, anyways, I'm fine. I swallowed it back. I swallowed back my feelings. My heart is turning to stone once again. Can I also just say that it's really excellent that we got so many different kind of monsters in this game. Like, I'm sorry, y'all, but I'm pretty sure I mentioned it like a couple times before on this channel, but I don't like vampires. I don't really like zombies. I'm glad that Victoria's route was done kind of like a Warm Bodies kind of way, because I love that movie. You know, I'm glad that we had that route with Victoria, but, you know, when the developer was talking about how everybody was going to be like werewolves in the beginning, I was just like, oh god, it would have been such a different game. It wouldn't have felt the same. It would have been weird. And then thinking about how we got like access to just so many different like classic like universal monsters and everything. I mean, wow. It makes me wonder what other kind of monsters we could explore, because she said that she based these off of Universal monsters. I'm not sure if she meant like Universal as in like these are the most common types of monsters that we know, or if she actually meant like these are the ones that were made by Universal Studios like back in their heyday, because that would have been interesting to check out. But like there's just so many different ways that I'm glad that Monster Sweethearts just had so many different monsters to explore, because as somebody that just like sees like a lot of vampires and shit, I'm like you know, like I see another thing about vampires and I'm like, it's another vampire story. Cool. Love it. Amazing. Hate it. Like, but and that's what's so amazing is that like it's not just about vampires, it's not just about like monsters. Like everybody is given a way to stand on their own individually, and that is what's so important to the storytelling and keeping you engaged as the player. Because if you were gonna watch like if you were gonna play through the same like Dracula related story over and over again, like you're gonna be bored as hell. Like it doesn't matter how good of a writer you are, you'd be like, why am I why? Like, just because they have different personalities? Like, no, otome games, no. Otome games are like, look, here's these guys and they're all exactly the same. They look like milk toast, but you can pick the glasses boy who's a little nerdy, or you can pick that bad boy who will treat you like shit and tell you smell bad. Good on Monster Sweethearts for not falling into that trap that so many otome games fall into, honestly. Yeah, and like, I haven't played a visual novel game that tries to address on so many different themes and so many different themes in so many different capacities in different routes. Because I mean, like, you can look at other visual novels and be like, this is an overarching story about the struggles of coming out, this is an overarching story about the struggles of sexuality, but like in Monster Sweethearts, it's like, this is an overarching story about the struggles of coming out. Also, in Victoria's route, you're gonna learn a little bit more about abuse and dynamic and like the toxic female friendships. Oh, and in Xanthe's route, you're gonna learn a little bit about domestic violence, but from when it's the perspective of two women and not just like a woman and a man involved in a domestic violence situation. Oh, and by the way, when you're in Leanne's route, you're going to learn kind of about the horrors of the foster care system. Like, there's just so many different things and different feelings and experiences that you're exposed to in one game. And I feel like that is so hard to do without coming across as preachy. I say this as someone who, like, honestly, my game is super preachy. Grunge is super preachy. I hate to keep comparing it, but like, that's kind of my frame of reference, because I don't know of a lot of other games that have tried to address so many things underneath like this, just this one big umbrella. And I just feel like that's one of the major strengths of Monster Sweethearts, is that everything feels contained in its own little world. Like, you don't necessarily, if for whatever reason you hate Jaylene's roommates, you don't necessarily have to like love them. You don't necessarily have to spend all your time with them. Each route is kind of contained in its own little world. You get exposed to this kind of like specific monster side, and then you get introduced into like this whole kind of thing with like organizing the dance and everything like that. So everything feels cohesive and put together as a whole, and it's that dance that's tying everything together. Yeah, I mean, it's just, and you know, like, I can't even get into the mechanics of like how amazing it is that we've got like these little things that pop up on screen, you know, like the secret unlockables and how that's done. I mean, I think that was just really wonderful. I mean, I can't even begin to like express how impressed I am with this game and how excited I am for the developer to continue on her other projects in the future, and how excited I am to support her and see what she's doing, because this was just, I mean, we've been playing Monster Sweethearts for like how many months now on this channel. It's been a pretty big part of the channel, and it's just been amazing, because I feel like we've gotten the privilege to watch it from the first, you know, from the first kind of routes with like Victoria and Bay, because technically those weren't the finished routes of Victoria and Bay that we played on the channel, but we got to watch like this developer grow as a writer, as a game designer, as a programmer, and that in itself is such a privilege, and such a gift, and I really loved being able to see it, like, #blessed. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I had to throw in the joke, but it really did. I feel like everything's come full circle. A lot of things have changed over the course of my life since I think I started playing Monster Sweethearts, and it's just, personally for me, it's also been nice to have something that I can just come back to on a regular basis. And I don't know, like, things have been so crazy in 2020 for so many reasons, but it's wonderful to just play a game that has just like this consistent writing and these consistent characters, these wonderfully defined, wonderfully weird, bizarre characters, and yeah, I really love this game, and I'm gonna really miss some of these characters. And yeah, and this is why like games like this are also so important, because like when I was a kid, like there weren't really like a lot of games like this that weren't necessarily like voyeuristic, or, you know, they were told for a male audience. Like, kind of a lot of the feedback when it comes to like lesbians being in media is that the lesbians aren't there for the lesbians are there for dudes. And just listening to the developer also talk about how she wanted this to be a game that was focused on women. She wanted it to be horror, but, you know, there's such an important thing in that Monster Sweethearts' horror isn't tied necessarily to the horrors as being women. Like, they're women, they exist, and I don't know, like, it just goes to show, like, how important it is to support, like, these little games like this. These small indie games that, you know, maybe you'd overlook this for the next AAA game that came out, but playing Monster Sweethearts really reminds me of why I do what I do on this channel. Which is that indie games are producing some of the most important content out there, and it is largely being ignored. Thankfully, I'm glad that Monster Sweethearts got the attention that it deserved at the Melbourne Queer Games Festival, where it won the Bronze Award. I said that in the last video, but I'm reiterating it again just because I'm so proud of this game. And so, yeah, I mean, like, Monster Sweethearts kind of, like, encompasses why I do everything that I do on this channel. And I'm really glad that you guys could stay with me for this journey. If you like this video, please leave a like. It really does help the channel out. I hope to revisit Monster Sweethearts probably sometime in the future, but I do want to play some other games. There's some other visual novels that I wanted to check out, other games on this channel that I wanted to check out just in general, so I will be moving on to those. But if you like this video, please leave a like, and when you subscribe, just be sure to hit that notifications bell so you get updates on when I upload future episodes. Without further ado, thank you all so much for watching and for playing Monster Sweethearts with me. Bye, everybody. Special shout out to Patreons AceWolf741, Deep Dive Dylan, Brian White, Caleb Putnam, and Robin Harper.